Welcome to Carrying Wayward, a supernatural podcast for fans who aren't ready to let go and newcomers to the series who are ready to jump in. I'm Marie Vigourou.
And I'm Drew Schulman. In this episode, we're diving into Supernatural Season 9, Episode 4, Slumber Party. Let's get this show on the road.
And we're going to try to anyway. On the bright side, we're finally at a Slumber Party.
Yes, we're actually a Slumber Party this time.
I know. I've actually watched the episode this week. Isn't that great?
There you go. I'm actually in my PJs.
Oh, lovely.
I was thematic. I don't think no one's really going to see much of this, but still, they'll know in their heart of hearts.
Yes, exactly. I do love that. So as always, we do want to really thank the people who are supporting this podcast because this is a listener supported podcast. And without the folks who donate monthly via Patreon and Coffee, we just really wouldn't be able to do it to do this the way that we do. Right. So we just want to say a really, really big thank you.
And if you'd like to join this lovely group of lovely people, you can head on over to our Patreon or our Coffee, which you can find at carryingwayward.com.
And I guess without further ado, it is time for me to ask, are we ready for the recap?
Count me down.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Oz is real.
Oz is real. Charlie's back. We meet freaking Dorothy, like the Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, who is Frank Albaum's kid, and they fight the actual Wicked Witch of the West, who is here to steal a key to go back to Oz to finish like what she started because she's not dead. She's just been trapped in a bottle for a bunch of years with Dorothy, and her tongue is missing, so she can't talk. But it's a full slumber party in the bunker with Charlie and the boys, and some death happens, and Crowley's weirdly helpful, and they save the day. Everything's good, and Charlie rides off into the sunset of Oz, and I'm super troubled by this time.
This episode was written by Robbie Thompson, directed by Robert Singer, and it originally aired on October 29th, 2013. Now, before we head into the long game, one thing that you said just jogged my memory for something, and I do want to highlight that this is not the last villain with a cutout tongue.
Honestly, it was a really weird choice in this episode. Like, I couldn't figure out why they did it.
Yeah. The wheels are turning right now. The hamster is running and is about to injure himself. For those who understand what I'm thinking about, talk to me on Discord, talk to me on Blue Sky, because I have so many thoughts right now. Oh my God.
In 1 to 6 seasons, you'll let me know when it happens because we're running out of seasons.
All right. Well, okay. So before I lose my complete mind, let's move into the long game. We do find out a little bit more about the history of the bunker, how long it took to build, etc. Kevin is now out of the bunker and at a motel, so that's why he's not there in this episode. Definitely not about budget constraints. We see Charlie again. Charlie
Yay.
dies and Charlie comes back to life.
You said that. Even though I talked about it in the recap, I forgot for a second. And I was like, she does? Oh, right. Yeah, she does. That's
Wait,
the
she
whole
dies?
point.
Yeah, she dies. There's like this lovely conversation about how like you're not a hunter until like you've died, right? And so again, I think that ties in really nicely to our little theme for the week, which we'll talk about later. Game of Thrones exists in the supernatural universe.
Yeah, just this world building that we have like other media exists. I mean, The Wizard of Oz exists, and given the ties that has, I'm hoping that Game of Thrones is really just a story.
You never really know, right? We do have a reference to Becky, who we haven't seen in a while.
Oh my God, yes, that was so good.
I know, right?
So good. Oh, poor Sam.
Oh, I know. No bells, no bells, no bells.
No bells, no red.
So let's not skip over the fact that Crowley recognizes the Wicked Witch when he sees her, and he eventually calls her Ms. Defying Gravity, which means that he has seen Wicked, and like obviously this was way before the latest Wicked movie came out. So Theater Kid Crowley is real.
Oh man, I also love how like I think he references Wicked like once or twice. Like it's not the he makes the Defying Gravity joke, but he mentions it a few times or another joke here and there. And like seemingly no one gets the reference. It's like we're implying that he's the only theater nerd among them, which is so sad, but I love it.
I know. I love that. I actually love that for him. I mean, Crowley is like especially right now, like his arc is like the very like misunderstood character, right? He feels very misunderstood. He feels like
Hmm.
he has more emotions than other people can handle. And that's just the quintessential theater kid experience. Trust me.
Oh, everyone's being seen. We love it.
Right. I think this might also be the first time that we see the kitchen at the bunker. I'm not sure, but that felt like the first time we saw it.
Yeah, I feel like the bunker we see a lot more of it this episode, like the kitchen. I think just like the whole like computer room where Charlie can totally just manage to mess with this machine in some way that is run off
Plug an
magic,
iPad to it
presumably.
because why not?
Oh yeah, no,
What?
the suspension of disbelief I do for the show is already a lot. This episode, specifically that, not that I'm doubting Charlie's abilities, but the way they presented it, I have my limits.
Mm. And like you said, we meet Dorothy and the Wicked Witch, and Oz is real. So that's all pretty cool. Very awesome world building. Yeah, I love this episode. This is probably one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I'll repeat myself a few times. I feel like it's one of those moments that's like watching the episode, and it's like they mention like it didn't click like right looking back. Obviously, it's starting in black and white.
Hmm.
Dorothy, the witch,
Yeah.
like it's so like clearly what they're trying to like paint. And then it's at a point where they mention Oz, and I'm just like, wait, are they implying that like Oz is a real place that they can go to? Like, are
Uh-huh.
we? And
Uh-huh.
like, not even like it's a big reveal. Like Sam and Dean don't go, wait, you're telling me the thing from the book is real? They're just like, oh yeah, no, Oz is a thing. Yeah, we knew about that. Like, what? When was
Yeah.
this? When was this discovered? How have you all known this? This is just like it's like I'm
Drew's like,
waiting for like
which memo did I miss?
exactly. It's like I legitimately feel like there was an episode where they went to Oz or talked about Oz, so we know about it, and I just completely forgot. But like, no, seemingly it's common knowledge among hunters that Oz is real. Oh. This week, our theme is belonging. Our first like real monster of the week style episode for this season, and not only do we get a wild premise that is sort of just dropped on us, like I said, it's the Wizard of Oz. I feel like a house was dropped on me, much like certain witches have dealt. But it's like weirdly unceremonious. Oz is real. Frank L. Baum was a man of letters. And like the Wicked Witch and the entire book series is based loosely on true events of his daughter Dorothy. And everyone kind of just seems like okay with this. Like it's old news. Like I really feel like I missed something.
Honestly, like, yeah, so I thought that that was just so cool, right? Like, because I remember the first time that I watched this and I was just like, huh, that's so clever. They should do that more often, right? Like, it's just, and you know what? It feels very Robbie Thompson. Like, knowing what else he's going to write in the series and what he's going to write after the series, like, it just feels very Robbie Thompson. Like, this is like, if I had to describe his writing style with one episode of Supernatural, it would probably be this one that I would pick.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to like, do a little dig back and look at his other episodes because like I loved this episode and I am looking forward to whatever other weird lore drops he drops on us so flippantly.
Hmm.
Like I said, I don't assume Game of Thrones is like canonically real in this universe, but like I know another universe we are going to visit eventually. So I'm very intrigued to see if any other ones pop up. Um, I also do like that amongst all this, we do get some nice, I'm calling it the People of Letters lore. Even meeting past and current members. We get Charlie and, like our true third sibling, which, I know is Adam Erasure, but deal with it. But with six characters all like feeling different degrees of like their belonging or lack thereof while we focus like in this episode, we're going to focus or I want to focus on like the three big ones. But there's a little bit more to dip into at the end as well with some of the other characters and their belonging. So Dean, we've seen it before in Dean and his relationship with Holmes. Often saying he'd be fine in the dankest or skeeziest of hotel rooms, and as we often do, we will turn back and look at our least favorite episode, Bugs, and remind everyone that while Dean talks a big game about roughing it, he really does appreciate a good shower with good water pressure.
I am actually so upset that we're talking about bugs still to this day. Like, it is 2025. True. Like, this episode literally came out 20 years ago at this point. Like, I am just so, so upset that we're still talking about it.
That like I'm sure if we really like I think because it's become such a joke between us at this point, I'm sure there's a better episode to like look back on. And listeners, if you know what it is, let me know. Maybe we can break the Bugs curse. That
I don't
like
know.
helps kind of show this point of like how much Dean does appreciate the normalcy of life he doesn't think he needs or deserves.
Hmm.
But like besides that, I think Dean really does see the bunker as home, like not a home away from home or like a home base, but like an actual livable home, someplace he could see himself settling down, letting him continue to live the swashbuckling life of someone duty bound to save the world. He can have it all here. He's safe and at home in his element while not having to give up the hunting life. That's a topic for another day we'll get to eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I find that pretty amazing, to be honest, because like we do know that Dean loves comfort, right? But we also know that he has a lot of trouble finding it. And what I mean by that is that like the trauma that he's been through has kind of made it like really hard for him to relax. It's made him pretty hypervigilant. Um, and yeah, like for people who are in his shoes or who are in similar situations, it's pretty hard for them to relax in their surroundings. And so the fact that Dean actually feels comfortable in the bunker means that Dean is like actively trying to heal from his trauma and like actually be present in the moment. And I just really, really love that for him. Like in his case, belonging is healing. And I love that so, so much.
Yeah, I mean like I could see the devil's advocate view of this of like, well, like, yeah, the bunker's kind of like the ultimate safe space. Like, how could you not feel like at home there? But like it isn't a homey place. They've made it homey. It's homey to them because of who they are. And Dean, like, we've seen the way Dean's decorated his room and he set up his stuff. He's got his I forget, I think we saw it already with Kevin where he has like a well-organized porn collection, or is it that in this episode? I think
I think
Charlie
we do
comments on
see
it
it in
because
this episode.
yes, because
Yeah.
he's looking for the key and you remember seeing it while he was like sorting and organizing his porn in whatever weird method he chooses to. I mean, hey, everyone's got to be a fan of something.
Yeah, and I mean I do think like just to kind of like talk about your devil's advocate thing, I like I understand what you're saying. I understand the point that you're making that it is probably like arguably easier for somebody to relax. But the reality is that like when your mind is not well, when your trauma is actively like eating at you, no matter where you are going to have trouble resting. So like I see your point, but also like that doesn't seem like the reality of the people who have that kind of trauma.
And that is what I wanted to point out was like I understand the yes, it is physically a safe location to be,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I don't think that factors into the fact that it is a place where he can actually hang his hat and feel at home and build a like safe space and a nest for himself.
Yeah, exactly.
As for Sam, let's ignore the angel and the hunter for a minute. As opposed to Dean, he really doesn't have a good relationship with comfort. Like, while Dean says he doesn't need it, but actually thrives in it, Sam instead fears the comfort, as every home he's known has been lost to him in some pretty painful ways. Childhood home burnt down with mom inside, episode 1, season 1. Same but girlfriend this time. Bobby's place exploded, leaving Amelia and the life they'd built for a new, just to name a few. Like, I mean, the guy's not had a good luck. And to me, seeing him settling down and accepting the bunker as a home is just the first step towards eventually losing it and having to face another safe place taken away from him. you can't lose what you don't have. So denying this is his way of trying to control that almost.
So I think I see it a little bit differently, but I also don't think that it's like an opposing view either. Like, because I think that for Sam, like, yes, there's definitely some of what you're saying, but I'm just not sure that Sam has fully accepted his life as a hunter. Like over the last like 8+ seasons at this
Mm-hmm.
point, Sam has had like a few moments where he's made it pretty clear that he imagines a life after hunting. And I do think that like that changes a bit with the remaining seasons, but like even just a couple seasons ago, Sam was like thinking about going back to school, right? And literally just last season, Sam said that like he should be doing the he should be the one doing the trials instead of Dean because he saw a life after them. And so, to bring this back into the theme of belonging, I think that Sam doesn't necessarily want to belong to the hunting life. And so, I think that there's a bit of a crisis of faith there for him. Like, I think he still sees hunting as temporary, and yet he's also not taking concrete steps to get out of it. And so, there's definitely something there to scratch at because it's like, oh, I don't really belong there. That's not for me. That's not forever. But he's also like not doing anything to change his environment, to change the circumstances. And so there's like a pattern there for Sam, I think.
Sam is that coworker that you have who hates his job. And anytime you suggest, like, well, quit or find something different or take steps to get out of the thing you hate, they just shrug it off and go, it's a living. It's like, if clearly you don't
Yeah,
want to be here,
but I don't
Sam,
think
but
he hates it either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think
yeah.
it's like, oh, like he's just not dreaming of something else. Like he's dreaming of another job,
Hmm.
but he, like you said, he's also not taking any steps to like to find anything else.
I think that's more the point I wanted to get across. I was trying to make it funny. But yes, you're right. It's really, oh yeah, no. It is very much the like, it really does feel like since, and I think the Amelia is kind of the sticking point here,
Yeah.
since that first I left the hunting life,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's like guilt over Dean or just that he feels like it's never going to work again and he like has to stop
Mm.
trying. Like, yes, he wants out, but he's not trying to get out the same way he was before, I think is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Dean has said before that he doesn't see a life for him outside of hunting and has more or less accepted this. You know, Sam has tried to get out a few times now. As for him, he feels this is not where he belongs, as we said. Whether or not this is true, it is how he feels. He wants hunting to be a means to an end outside of this life, where he would get sort of like the happily ever after. As such, this hunting life, while he's good at it and he often feels like he truly does belong in it, he doesn't want to belong to it. I think that's what it is.
Yes, exactly. See, great minds. See, there you go. Like he doesn't, I think there's like this active voice in his head that tells him that he doesn't want to be there. And I think that that is at this moment, because I do think it changes, but I think at this moment it's one big difference between Sam and Dean in terms of like, because I think Dean wants to belong to hunting, Sam doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a weird parallel here that I like a very niche amount of our audience will get, but like I now need to do a deep dive into the psyche of Sam and hunting in comparison to Halo's Master Chief and combat because there's some weird parallels there in the I'm gonna keep doing this because it's what I meant to do, even if it's not what I want to do, but I was built for it and I'm good for it, so I should be doing it, which is
There's nothing I can add to this conversation. But if you do, send us a voicemail.
please, I'd love to hear that one. Let's move on to happier things with Charlie, which
Yay!
I texted you like as soon as she appeared in this episode. I was like, I need to know this is not goodbye. Like, I will cry if this is how the show writes her off. I mean, like a billion times better than every other goodbye we've gotten. And I guess I can count myself lucky that she lives. But like, I will be so bummed out if we like get 6 more seasons with no more Charlie.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Obviously, you can't spoil me. I know I can't get you to tell me, and no one will ruin that for me, hopefully. But onto our actual topic. Charlie gets to play a fun part in this like triangle of belonging while Dean is the all in and Sam is the in until it's over, Charlie's the outcast who was fallen into hunting as a form of belonging.
It's so interesting that, like, for us in this conversation, like, hunting and belonging really go hand in hand. Like, I think that's really something that, like, hunting and the community of hunting and all of that stuff. Like, I think
Hmm.
it stands for a lot of things in this story. But anyway, so I think that Charlie's like, all right, so hunting is like something that I'm a part of, like whether I like it or not. So I might as well get like more familiar with it. And what we hear her say in this episode is that she's basically disappointed by it. Like she
Yep.
wishes that it was more romantic, right? More dreamy. Like she wants her quest and her fantasy and her Tolkien and like Tolkien. Actually, I don't know why I said Tolkien, but anyway, forgot the I. Um, and so like the thing is that hunting in the supernatural universe, like, it's none of those things, right? It's not dreamy, it's not fun, it's not romantic, and it's like very gritty in a way that I don't think that she had envisioned, right? Her expectations were not met in this case.
True. Like we look back some of her previous cases. Like, I mean, our two big ones are like Leviathan stuff, which was like messy and weird. And then her first like real case ended with her making out with a fae. So like
Hmm.
kind of got what she wanted there. And I think maybe like helps set a precedence, especially when you compare like the type of fantasy she's probably absorbed over the years through different mediums.
Hmm.
So like I get it. And I think it does play a good role here in showing how like despite that, she has still like embraced the life, but can still point out the flaws in it.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Speaking of her past appearances, she's always been depicted as an outsider or I say loner in a very loving way. Like she didn't connect with many people unless through some kind of disguise, playing the part of a regular employee at her first job when really she was there to hack and, do good, or literally in disguise and or cosplay as the queen in her LARPing community. And I feel like myself and others can relate to like a new hyperfixation in the form of a hobby seems to track. And hunting is her new one.
No, I have no idea what you're referring to, Drew. That has never happened to me. Real talk, though, I kind of disagree with your assessment. Like, I think so, because when we meet her, like, she has friends, right, at Roman Enterprises. And when she's queen, she's literally surrounded by a bunch of people who all want to spend time with her. She manages to pick up a fae, like, super really quickly. Like, I'm like, good for her. And I think that when hunting came into her life, like she had to leave relationships behind, not unlike Sam in season one. And so I think that like she's looking for ways to build relationships within the hunting community. And we see Sa. Guys, I can do this. Just encourage me a little bit.
I believe.
Um, I feel the good vibes through your car radio. We see that with Sam and with Dean, but also with Dorothy in this episode, because as we know, she's a friend of Dorothy.
Oh my god, how did I not make that connection sooner?
What?
Like I just it did like I know the expression, it just did not click until you said it right
Oh my
now. Oh my
God.
god, I am dense.
That's too
Uh
funny.
yeah, I think it's a very valid like two sides of the coin type thing. I almost go
Hmm.
the other way where it's like I feel like the role she played, like I feel like when she was an employee at Roman Enterprises, that wasn't like her true self. She was almost like playing a character the same way she plays the queen in LARPing. She's
Hmm.
kind of putting on this mask to be kind of more popular and fit in better, sort of like someone else might do with the other brother,
Hmm.
maybe. So
Right.
a little bit of Sam and a little bit of Dean in there. I mean,
I
she really
know.
is the true third Winchester. I'm saying it now.
You have to stop saying that. People are going to write us angry emails.
Do it. Do it. Come for me. Get into the comments. Tell me why you like Adam over Charlie, please. And I'm not, okay, again, I joke about Adam. I think I'm like playing the joke a bit. He is still officially a Winchester sibling. She's just in the rankings, a better ranked one over Adam.
Go on. Continue saying heinous things.
Hey, I got my rankings. As more siblings get introduced or get removed, we'll adjust them. Uh,
Oh my God.
yeah, because they're all going to make it to the end, all four of them. Um, from the little we do get, it seems that she hasn't really joined the hunting community at large. Like it seems
Yeah.
maybe she's found a sense of belonging with Dorothy more now, both in hunting and in partnership and friendship, and in a new place that is more what she's always dreamt of, someplace magical for her where she may discover a new sense of belonging.
Right. Well, so again, like I think that it's no mistake that like a lesbian character would befriend a very soft butch Dorothy, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it really feels like Charlie has found belonging through queerness in hunting. And I think that eventually that is going to come back for at least one of our characters in this story.
I look forward to any queerness returning always. I do want to dip into a few other characters. So Dorothy's relationship with the Men of Letters depicts the organization as kind of a boys' club and mostly full of bookwormy nerds. Um, and like already like a bit shaken from being, 75 years out of her time, she does seem to take some comfort in learning that a woman of letters is a thing. And while being a person of letters isn't for her, the idea of a woman belonging in more spaces is definitely a positive.
I really love that Dorothy said DEI with her whole chest, right? Like,
Yes.
good for her.
Oh my God. Yes. She also does return to Oz in the end with a badass new partner. And as it would seem, she feels she is needed there. And given her disconnect from the current mortal realm for so long, it may be easier for her to go back somewhere where she has once belonged before.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about Oz and the world of Oz in Critical
Ooh.
Time a little bit more.
I'm excited for that. Last, I do want to touch on Crowley slightly. And I just want to
Theater
note
kid.
how the theater kid Crowley kind of like just helpful. Like, sure, he did use his leverage to get a good stretch in, but like he wasn't a hindrance and actively misled the witch. Like, I'm still team good boy Crowley here. And while he is definitely not like some place that he belongs right now, I'm hoping with time that he may change in that manner. And maybe this is where he does belong in the bunker.
Listen, I am team like Crowley has never done anything wrong in his life. So that being said, I also feel like Crowley is slowly but surely developing like a trauma bond with the Winchesters, right? Like it's really hard to tell in the moment, but he is actually helping them because he knows his welfare is in their hands, right? Like but is that really what's happening? Like, is he only helping them because of that? Like, is it a calculation or is he actually developing a like a real bond with them? Like, is he starting to feel like he belongs on their side now that he's had like a little taste of humanity again? Like, you just can't be sure in this moment of what's really happening behind that screen, behind that mask of like Crowley.
Yeah, this is the yeah, I don't like musicals, but like my friend was in it, so I'll go support them. And then we find out he knows every song by heart and has like a signed copy of the soundtrack and like take like signed ticket stubs from day one. Like, yeah, sure. You're being helpful because like, oh, if I don't, they might kill me. Like these I need them to keep me alive. And helping them is not what I want to be doing, even though I'm pretty good at it and they seem to like that I'm doing
Yep.
it, which is nice.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Um, why did I just think of crowd with a praise kink? Oh God, no.
Well,
Moving
I
on,
mean,
moving on, moving
of
on.
course he does, but
Oh,
anyway,
I know he does. Oh my
moving
God.
on. That's why him
Um,
and Dean could never. Anyway, moving on.
okay, some story thoughts to wrap up our story time. As I've expressed, I need more Charlie, and I will be very bummed if we lose her from here. At the same time, if this is how the show chooses to write her off, you know what? No self sacrifice or sudden surprise death. Just let her go off to a real magical adventure in a world where you and I both know she will be so damn fantastic in. Like, I hate to see her go, but if I have to let her go, this is where I want her to be.
I just want to open a parenthesis here.
Yes.
Because so like you and I have been doing this podcast for a long time now, right? And the dynamic is that like I know what's going to happen and you don't. And for a long time, I got a little cocky about this. And I was like, ha ha ha, I got this. I can do this. And like I I just, I don't know, it never felt difficult for me not to say the things. And then I started doing Rude Eats with Jeremy Greer, and then the roles were reversed. And he knew what was going to happen, and I didn't. And there are moments, if you listen to the podcast, where I say something and Jeremy just doesn't know what to say. And I just right now feel a lot of empathy for my other co-host, Jeremy, in this moment of not knowing what to say to this. And that is my parenthesis closed, and I will not say a single other word on the topic.
I will compliment that, however, because that is the perfect balance of you clearly want to say something, but I don't know which way you want to take that conversation. So I'm left equally
Mhm.
in the dark.
Exactly.
Um, as far as the season goes, this just sort of makes me hopeful that we will get some more history of the Men of Letters and like past hunters or encounters. Like I really love that level of world building. Maybe we bring back Samuel again with the Colts.
Oh.
I know that's never happening. I know. Based off last week's voicemail, I know it's over. Um, Otherwise, my existing through lines continue. Crowley's getting more complacent. Dean is still lying up a storm. Zeke is getting a little more mouthy, and the fact that he almost like yes, ultimately he does revive and save Charlie. He's like really opposed to doing it. Like he really does fight it, and in the end, it doesn't seem like it really cost him much.
Well, it's also because like Dean is kind of using him as if he's like the genie,
Yeah, no,
like
true. Yes.
rub the
It,
bottle, make a wish kind of thing. And it's like, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's not how that, I mean, maybe that's how it works with cast, but like, I don't think that that's how it's supposed to work with all angels.
yes, no, I think that bottle rubbing is a very different bottle rubbing. But I feel like I don't know how you then write your way out of this now. Like, how do we have can anyone die while Zeke is around? My only theories now are Zeke is going to have to leave rather soon, or else Death will have no penalties for a while. Or I don't know, like I let's get the next Death so we can see what Zeke does with it. Like that's the only thing I can think of now, because how do they write themselves out of this hole now that they've done this?
And guess what? We're only at episode 4 of this season.
Oh my god, true.
We still have like 20 episodes to go.
So many room for death.
It's really hard to do an episode about The Wizard of Oz without talking about queerness and the importance of the film, The Wizard of Oz, to queer history, and also, I would argue, to knowledge production in general. It's no mistake that like we picked the theme of belonging for this episode because it's one of the main themes in The Wizard of Oz. I figured that I would talk a little bit today about like why this movie like was and again arguably still is like a cornerstone of queer culture. And it might be really, really obvious or old news to some listeners. But one thing that podcasting has really taught me over the years is to never assume that your entire audience knows about something, because that's just not always the case. So, first off, if you're any flavor of queer or even a queer ally, please go watch The Wizard of Oz. It is literally mandatory viewing for all of us, and it will be on the final exam. Thank you. So we're going to start off fairly easy. We're going to talk about the visuals, right? So like the first time that we see Dorothy, like she's showed on a farm in the American Midwest, and her life is in black and white. And then only once she reaches Oz, does her life actually take on like screaming colors, right? And for those who don't know, The Wizard of Oz was one of the first movies to use the Technicolor three-strip color process, which gave like the movie its signature like vibrancy, right? And again, like the stuff that we do today, like this backlit bullshit, like just could never, right? Like I am so anti what is going on today in terms of visuals. But anyway, moving on from that. So we go from like a colorless black, white, gray world to like the literal colors of the rainbow. Speaking of which, speaking of the rainbow, the gay flag was first quote unquote adopted in 1978. That's almost 40 years after The Wizard of Oz was released in theaters. And just like a little note that like its creator, Gilbert Baker, um, openly denied that it was directly inspired from the movie. Like the colors and the rainbow theme are like undeniably present in both, right? And the gay pride flag also is known as the rainbow flag. And the movie featuring Over the Rainbow as one of its main songs. Like it's just like the rainbow is very present. And so through this use of like rainbow and color, the movie is developing the theme of belonging because in her gray life, Dorothy is part of a family that doesn't understand her, that doesn't love her. And you know, she's perceived to be different from them. And that was certainly something that resonated with queer people in 1939, right? And it still resonates with queer people today. Once she's transported to the colorful world of Oz, she puts on her red glitter pumps and meets incredibly campy characters who also feel like outcasts because, like, of their own differences. And they all become friends and they create this, like, loving circle. They create this found family, you might say, and they navigate life together, meaning they follow the yellow brick road. Now, it's hard for anyone today to really fully understand the impact of the Wizard of Oz on queer culture because so much of it is ubiquitous today. But think of like the first time that you felt when you first heard Pink Pony Club. And imagine if like Pink Pony Club was a movie, and that would be a good start to starting to understand that. And I mean, let's be real here. Most of us are supernatural fans in this space, right? A show about two brothers from Kansas, the American Midwest, who feel like they never fit in on a show that begins with gray color grading that gets progressively more colorful as the brothers make more and more friends with other outcasts, creating their own found family. So, I think that we understand a little something about that together. So, this week, I still have a question for you, friends of Dorothy. And the question is, how can queer people today find or create spaces of belonging, especially when mainstream culture often feels like Kansas in black and white?
First of all, I love all of this. I was raised in a Wizard of Oz household. My mother is a massive fan. It was a regularly viewed film in my childhood. I married a woman whose mother is equally a fan to the point where whenever we see Wizard of Oz like merch anywhere, we have to buy two of everything for them because it would be unfair to buy. We found a really cute bookmark the other day, and it's her feet sticking out, so it looks like she's crushed by the book. They only had one left, and we were like, okay, well, what do we get your mother now? Because we're getting this for my mother. Like, she's the book reader. Oh my god, the trauma. Anyways, I digress. The movie means so much to me. I love it. I don't think I realized how much I connected with it until I learned about the queer community connections to it. And I think what that leads me to is my answer to your question after I've meandered a little bit here, not following the road like I should, is there are so many niche fandoms out there. You were talking to somebody who's into so many of these little niche fandoms and have my communities. And it's in finding like-minded people you connect with over something that I find allows you to open up and get to know these people on different levels. Like, I never thought I play this nerdy card game and I go to this place to play every few nights would eventually turn into my local queer community, because that's just where we all met, became comfortable being around each other and letting down our guard because we already knew that we were like in these ways. So with the growth of the internet and other fandoms, like I looked at things like Dungeons and Dragons, that was so much of a nerdy boys in a basement thing that now you watch 90% of like D&D or tabletop YouTube or like other content creators. And it is such an openly queer space. There is so much acceptance and like community growth. It has very much become a safe place for queer people to hang out and meet people. And I joke, I don't think I've sat at a table to play D&D or Magic in the last 3 years and there be more than one straight person at the table. And I think it just is because these communities have become so much easier to find and join because they become much more public and visible, that people who once thought it was something they had to hide, this niche fandom, could connect with people over this nerdy little thing that was very much their little thing, and maybe a hyperfixation, as I hinted at earlier with some other stuff, that you then are able to open up and connect on other similarities. And it turns out some of these niche fandoms and hyperfixations have some pretty queer crossover, just like the Wizard of Oz did.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think there's also something to be said about like learning the language a little bit, like learning the history. I think for me, like that would be if someone were to ask me that question, like that's how I would answer. Like I would start with, learn about flagging, learn about queer history. Um, and because if you start learning about queer history and you start learning about flagging, immediately you're going to start seeing the signs, right? Like because we're now unfortunately in a world where being openly queer can be very unsafe, and so there's going to be more and more people who are going to tone it down, quote unquote, or to try to hide it. But by knowing what to look for in the flagging, you're going to be able to create those communities for yourself or to find them for yourself as well, even if you're in a place in the world where being queer might be more dangerous than it is, let's say, where you and I are. So I would start there because it's like I think it's just keep in mind that like you and I are like from a generation of queer people that don't really have queer elders, right? Like because so many of them died during the AIDS crisis, right? Um, and so I just think that like learning your queer history is so important because we didn't really have like queer elders to guide us through a lot of this stuff that we went through. But now like today's generations, you do like use your elders, right? Like talk to your elders and learn from us. We are old.
I will happily sit down on a bench with a glass of iced tea and tell you all the tales of whatever I can tell that would be helpful to you,
There you
which
go.
we're already doing every week, I realize.
I know. See, that's what I'm saying.
We're the old men who yells at clouds about not being rainbow enough.
Exactly. This week we have a message from Jeanette, and before we listen to it, we want to remind you to send us a 3-minute voicemail. To respond to anything we discussed today, to ask us a question, you can use the recording app on your phone and email us the recording at carryingwayward@gmail.com.
Jeanette writes, Hi, Mary and Drew. I'm a longtime fan and patron of Carrying Wayward, and I really love the discourse that emerges from this podcast, especially surrounding the legacy of Supernatural. I'm rewatching the full series for the first time, and I recently completed season 3. But I found myself angry and drained after the season's finale in a way I don't recall feeling during my initial viewing. I had a hard time finding the motivation to start season 4 or even listen to Supernatural podcasts that I enjoy because I couldn't shake how I felt about the season 2 finale and season 3. I'm not sure if it's because I know how the show ends. I'm one of those people who was incredibly hurt and triggered by the series finale, but I found myself wrestling with the question of Supernatural's legacy a lot more recently and how I feel about the show. As a Black woman, I have been asked by my friends and family how I can love Supernatural when it has so many issues surrounding race and other marginalized identities. After season 3, I started to ask myself the same question. Of course, I noticed the racist tropes and racially insensitive depictions of BIPOC people on the show, but I was able to roll my eyes, acknowledge them, and still enjoy the show, mainly for the characters and sometimes for the plot. During this rewatch, I couldn't just acknowledge and move on as I watched several Black characters get brutally killed or tortured from the season 2 finale through the first 9 episodes of season 3. 6 characters, Jake, Tamara, Isaac, Gordon, Victor, and Janet, were killed or tortured in 10 episodes. In fact, about 10 Black characters were killed in season 2 and 3. 10 characters may not seem like a lot in 38 episodes, but there were only 14 Black characters total in both seasons. Watching all the episodes so close together made it clear how many BIPOC people were killed in the early seasons, and I started to lament the lost potential of so many interesting characters that were killed or forgotten, like Cassie, Rufus, Jake, Gordon, and Tamara, just to name a few without spoilers. I know that I may be biased when it comes to Black representation, but I do find it frustrating when characters like Cassie, Dean's first love relationship, and Victor, one of the first law enforcement officers on Dean and Sam's side, and who had genuine connection with Dean, are rarely mentioned or remembered in the show. I love Benny and his character arc and relationship with Dean, but watching season 3 again made me wish we could have had something similar with Victor. I feel the same way about Lisa because I wanted Cassie to return since I preferred her characterization, and there was already an established relationship and connection with Dean. I know the show could be cruel to most marginalized groups in the early years, but there was some attempts at improvements in the treatment of female presenting and queer characters in the later seasons, to varying degrees of success. We are introduced to some amazing women who stay around for some time, like Jody, Charlie, Eileen, Rowena, Donna, and Linda, but Linda was the only POC woman. The show's improvements in the treatment of certain groups never fully extended to Black and Brown people. I love Jody and Donna and some of the other hunters we meet along the way, but it would have been great if we had a Black or Brown hunter like Tamara from season 3 too. I know we get Billy and a couple of Black women hunters in later seasons, but the hunters weren't prominent characters, and Billy's arc is a different discussion about how they were treated. Obviously, the erasure of identities and mistreatment of marginalized identities was not unique to Supernatural or limited to Black people, but during this rewatch, I found it difficult to watch a show that constantly killed and disrespected people who looked like me. Mary has asked a few times about the legacy of Supernatural, and that is something I am trying to figure out for myself. I think Supernatural has many complicated legacies for me that have evolved as I have over the years. As someone who survived severe trauma and struggled with my mental health since childhood and only came to recognize my queerness in my 30s, I profoundly identify with Dean. His characterization, journey, and relationships, especially with Castiel, gave me hope, made me feel seen, and even helped me better understand myself. The theme of free will and found family helps shape my perspective and how I move in the world as someone who is still trying to find my way. I'm so grateful for the positive impact that the show left with me, but I also have to acknowledge all of Supernatural's legacies, which means no longer overlooking the painful parts of the show and how certain groups of people were treated. I'm still choosing to love Supernatural and to take the lessons that I need from the show and characters, even if I need to take breaks from the rewatch sometimes. Thank you so much for reading my email and for all that you do with Carrying Wayward. I hope we can all decide what Supernatural means to each of us as we continue to grow and engage with the podcast and Supernatural community. I look forward to continuing my rewatch, checking out the Discord, and listening to season 8 of the podcast. Sincerely, Janet.
Jeanette, thank you so much for this really thoughtful email. So part of my work in my PhD is to talk about um, social justice, essentially, particularly when it comes to identity. And one of the things that is always very clear is that not all people are afforded the same humanity, right? Like, who is afforded the most humanity are often the people who are the closest to power, right? So people who are male, who are white, who are in our Western society, who are, you know, like not immigrants into the country, but also not native, because that's a whole other thing, not indigenous to the country. Um, and so I think that this is one of those moments where we see reality represented in fiction in a way that is just like really upsetting, frankly, when we think about it. This it's interesting because this whole episode is about like the a relationship between fiction and reality. And I think that what you're getting to falls into that theme as well, because I think that a lot of people in a lot of professions like to think that they are not biased, right? Whether that's uh, racially biased or biased about gender, sexual identity. But the reality and what we're seeing, especially in this episode, in these episodes in seasons 2 and 3 um, really points to the contrary. And that's, I think, the whole thing about bias is that you're not necessarily aware of it. And it is still a great injustice that is done to the people whose humanity we are denying, right? So anyway, I won't talk about all that all, for longer, but I just want to say that this is something that really resonates with me. And interestingly, also seeing numbers about it was really shocking to me because I always knew that it was bad, but I didn't know that it was that bad. And I think that's my own bias here that's talking. So thank you very much for pointing that out. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry you had to, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you both for the message today. It was very well crafted and very eye opening. I mean, like like you said, Mary, I definitely knew the people of color representation in the show was incredibly low. Like we've talked about it in the past when it's been relevant, but to have the numbers like laid out like that and how few black and brown characters we do see on screen and how many of them are killed, tortured, fridged. I mean, it is frightening to look at. Um, to touch on your point about legacies, though, I think there is, while we wrestle with the fact that yes, Supernatural, much like many shows of its time, were flawed. That isn't making excuses. I'm just pointing out that it's not alone in that mistake. We're flawed in this way that the casting skewed to the demographic they thought they wanted, which was straight white people. And in this show, they apparently wanted more men and didn't get it, but that's another story. But it's through those mistakes that we can look back and learn from still. Like, I'm not excusing them for doing what they did, but it does allow us to have this talking point, to have this conversation, to point it out as evidence of this being an endemic issue in media and in representation. And while I wish the way we discussed it was on the positive side of seeing examples of movies and TV shows and other media that have broken away from this and allowed themselves to cast more people of color, more people of different gender identities, queer nationalities, ethnicities, and every other category that anyone feels that they fit into or are not being seen on the screen. So yeah, you're right to not be okay with it. You're right to look at this and go like, wow, this kind of does sour those bits of the series. But if we can look at it from a way of letting it be the starter of a conversation to discuss why it's a problem and still look at the parts like Dean and Castiel up until the ending, as I've been made very aware of, that there is still what to connect to and grow from, even amongst the mistakes. So I hope you can keep watching. I hope you keep listening. And I do hope you come over to the Discord because we'll be there to discuss all of this.
And I also want to say that it's also okay to let things go.
Yeah.
And I know nobody needs anybody's permission, right, to let a piece of media go. But I think it's also okay to outgrow media. Like it's fine. You're allowed to outgrow stuff and to realize that the things that resonated with you at the time can no longer resonate with you because of something else that happens there, right? And I think that's okay. It's fine. I have been feeling that way a lot more with Supernatural lately. I have felt that way very strongly about Harry Potter. Like, I feel like I have very much let it go, despite it being something that literally raised me and shaped my values. But anyway, and so it's okay to let things go. Like, it's fine. You can outgrow stuff. You'll be fine.
We have reached the end of our episode, so I get to ask my favorite little question. I'm loving this segment more and more every week. What did we learn this week?
Well, so I had written something completely different when I took my notes, to be honest with you.
Oh,
But I rewatched when I actually rewatched this episode for real, I was like really struck by like this through line about like the relationship between fiction and real life and how fiction can serve as like an inspiration for real life, but also how real life can serve as an inspiration for fiction. And this is done through like obviously The Wizard of Oz, but like through the books and the movies, but also through like the reference to Game of Thrones, the reference to Tolkien, and the mention of the supernatural books. And obviously, this isn't really something that I've learned in this episode per se, but I just think that it's so beautifully done. And I kind of wanted to really congratulate Robbie Thompson for this delightfully written episode.
That is very sweet, and I do love that. And it really, I mean, we're kind of on a similar wavelength here today in the
I
concept of the story
know.
worlds.
Well, tell us all about what you've learned.
Well, I mean, besides Oz just being a real place and supernatural, like cool.
Right. Yeah.
Like I joked before, but like how many other fictional worlds are or could be real? Like, do we get to go to Neverland next season? Like, I could kind of see that working.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to go to Middle Earth. I don't think that's as likely, but hey,
Oh,
I feel like Sam would have the best time there.
yeah.
But it was a
Actually,
fun.
Sam would have a terrible time because he would be so big compared to the hobbits.
Oh my God, Sam fitting
Like
into a hobbit
Sam,
hole to sit down
I,
with Bilbo or Frodo for dinner. It would be the cutest thing ever, and I would die.
Sam would have the hardest time in Hobbiton. Like it would just be like his nightmare.
Oh no, no, the thing is, he would be so like comedically like happy about everything that he would like totally let it go despite like not fitting anywhere and being like stuck and getting like hitting his head constantly. But he'd be like, no, it's worth it. It's the Hobbit, it's the Shire. I'm here.
Tallest bean.
Too tall to Hobbit. But I do unfortunately want to twist this into an unfortunate reminder that like copyright law really sucks. Like the fact that there are worlds they probably would love to work with, but because they're owned by another company and like corporate greed, that just it could never happen. And I'm going to use as an excuse to shout out the McElroy brothers, the Adventure Zone specifically, their live shows this past season. They've been doing comedic send-ups of famous literature that are currently in the public domain. And like, I love seeing a new twist or take on like pre-existing characters and places that we once thought of in such a specific way, and how transformative creativity can be. So in short, while I'm hoping more things go into public domain and more groups and projects can play with those things, fanfics, keep doing your shit. Thank you.
This was Carrying Wayward, a supernatural podcast produced by Rochelle Castellano, hosted by Marie Vigourou
and Drew Schulman. Thank you to everyone supporting us on Ko-fi or Patreon,
including our bunker patrons, Jeremiah Thomas and Michelle.
We'd also like to thank Jake Lionheart for our music.
Head over to carryingwayward.com to become a patron or a Ko-fi subscriber, and for our merch store and our socials. And write us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Carry on, our wayward friends.